Have you ever stood in a place where the air felt heavy with the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future? Think about a land where history is written in the soil and every drop of water carries a story of conflict and survival. In many parts of the world, we are used to seeing images of destruction and hearing the loud sounds of crisis. We see borders as walls that separate people and keep them apart. We often believe that in places torn by long battles, the only possible language is the language of defense and distance. But what if there is a silent reality moving beneath the surface that ignores every checkpoint and every fence? What if the environment itself is a messenger telling us that we no longer have the luxury of being enemies? Today we are going to look at a part of the world that is often seen only through the lens of struggle. We are going to explore how the heat of the sun and the salt of the sea might actually be the keys to a new kind of friendship. To understand this, we have to look at the context of how nations have found peace in the past. After the great wars of the last century, some of the bitterest enemies in Europe made a surprising choice. They did not just sign a piece of paper. They decided to share their most important resources like coal and steel. By linking their energy and their industry, they made it physically and economically impossible to go to war again. They realized that if their survival depended on one another, they would have to find a way to work together. This was a massive shift in how humans think about safety. It moved from the idea of safety through separation to the idea of safety through connection. In the Middle East today, we see a similar crossroads. The region is a climate hotspot, which means the Earth is warming there much faster than the global average. Temperatures are rising and water is becoming scarce. This environmental pressure does not care about politics. Pollution does not stop at a border, and a drought does not check your passport. This creates a surface concept that we are witnessing a race for limited resources. We look at the map and see a zero-sum game where one person's gain must be another person's loss. We see power as something that is held by one side or the other. But there is a hidden assumption here that we must uncover. We assume that independence is the only way to be secure. We think that being strong means being self-sufficient and isolated. But in a world where the climate is changing rapidly, isolation is actually a weakness. No single community can solve a regional water crisis alone. No single country can manage a heat wave by building a wall. The assumption that we can survive separately is a dangerous illusion. When we look at the structural pattern of life in this region, we see a tiny piece of land where everything is interconnected. The water under the ground flows between neighbors. The sun shines with equal intensity on everyone. This interconnection is usually seen as a source of tension, but we can reframe it as a source of immense power. Imagine a triangle of cooperation where different strengths are traded for mutual survival. One neighbor has vast deserts perfect for solar energy. Another has a coastline perfect for turning seawater into drinking water. A third has the geographical position to be a gateway for trade. If you connect these points, you don't just get an economic agreement. You get a peace triangle. This is a move toward interdependence. It is the realization that my water depends on your energy, and your energy depends on my stability. In this model, the resources are not just fuel or liquid. They are the stitches that hold a broken fabric together. Applying this to daily life requires a change in how we view the people we have been taught to fear. It starts with seeing the humanity in the person on the other side of the line. It might be a teenager who enjoys the same wildflowers or birds as you do. It might be a professional who wants the same clean air for their children. When we work together on concrete projects like building a green kitchen or a shared water plant, we move away from abstract hatred and toward practical solutions. This is not about forgetting the past or ignoring the pain of loss. Many people in these regions have stories of deep grief. But choosing to build a shared future is a radical act of hope. It is the belief that we all deserve better than a cycle of destruction. It is about deciding that the survival of our children is more important than the grudges of our ancestors. We can choose to be the architects of a new reality where the sun and the sea provide prosperity for everyone. This perspective is often called unrealistic or even a betrayal by those who are stuck in the old ways of thinking. But what is truly unrealistic is believing that we can continue on the current path without everyone losing. The environment is giving us a deadline. It is forcing us to choose between a shared collapse or a shared transformation. If we can see the peace triangle not just as a dream but as a technical and moral necessity, we can start to build a foundation that lasts. We are moving toward a time where our survival is shared. Our future is entangled whether we like it or not. We can either be dragged into that future by crisis, or we can walk into it together by choice. Think about the energy of the sun. It does not ask for permission to shine on a specific person. It is a gift that is available to everyone if we are smart enough to catch it. The same is true for peace. It is available if we have the courage to reach across the lines we have drawn in the sand. When we look at the history of the world, we see that the biggest changes often come from the most unexpected places. If peace can be built out of coal and steel, surely it can be built out of sunlight and water. This is a story that is not just about one region. It is a story about how humans learn to adapt and survive on a changing planet. It is about the moral imagination to see a battlefield as a potential garden. It is about the strength to stay standing for humanity even when the world is loud with anger. We are all part of this vision because the stability of one part of the world affects the stability of the whole. We are all living on a tiny, interconnected planet that needs us to cooperate. By sharing these ideas and believing in the possibility of a shared future, we give strength to those who are doing the hard work on the ground. We refuse the idea that destruction is the only end to the story. Instead, we choose a story of integration, prosperity, and respect. This is a long journey, and it requires patience and persistence. But every small project and every shared conversation is a step away from the wrong war and toward the right future. If we look at the sun that warms us all and the sea that connects us all, can we find the courage to admit that our neighbor's survival is the only way to ensure our own?